My grandparents are amazing. They're 89 years old. They live in Florida. They live on their own. They were born in 1920 and they got married in 1945. He worked for the post office, so he was a federal employee. My grandmother worked for the Department of Environmental Protection for the city of New York. I learned recently that they went to the March on Washington in 1963. It was when the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. gave his I Have a Dream speech. And the fascinating thing to me about the march was that everybody was dressed. They were in their Sunday best. They didn't, although granted in the 60s, jeans weren't as common as they are today, but they were not in casual clothes. They were in ties and sundresses. And this is August of '63 in Washington, D.C. Hot, but they looked cool. One thing that my grandparents both said about that day was that it was a gorgeous day. It was very beautiful, just a gorgeous day. They took the train down from New York, and when they arrived at Union Station, there were buses that took them from Union Station to the monument area, the National Mall. And once they got there, they were able to walk around and listen to the speeches and just take in what was going on. Everything went smoothly. There was no yelling, no screaming. It was very peaceful. And my grandfather, being the photographer that he was, he took photos of that day. So he was able to document his experiences there. My grandmother said that she remembers people cooling their heels in the reflecting pool. There were just so many people there. And they were just so happy that it went off smoothly, that there was no altercations or anything of that nature. But they felt that was something they had to go to. It was something to experience. They didn't agree with segregation, so they felt this was something that they should participate in. My grandmother said that her coworkers were concerned about them going down because I guess news reports then didn't know what to expect of this March on Washington. And my grandmother wasn't concerned. She knew this is something that she wanted to do. And they went down with their neighbors and had a great time. I'm not exactly sure how they heard about the march, but my grandfather did say that when he did hear about it, he knew it was something he had to go to. As for Dr. King's speech, they just felt it was an amazing speech, that it was just something to look forward to. And now for them to have lived to be able to see Barack Obama as president, it's definitely something they never thought that they would see, but they also do feel that it is something that, I guess, the answer to what Dr. King was speaking of. A couple of years ago, my grandfather decided to entrust me with his photos from the March on Washington, and that's what definitely got me thinking about their participation in something so big. It was, there were many seminal moments in the civil rights movement, but for my grandparents, who to me are, my grandparents, I speak to them every week, to know that they participated in something that big and wanted to be a part of it, it just provides a different insight into their lives.